What's up, you guys? It's Layla Lynn and I'm back with a new video. In this video, I want to talk about the autopsy report. The results have been released for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And when we discuss these results, I want to talk about them compared to his album cover. I did a video on my crime channel about his withered album cover where I told you guys her body is cut up on the album cover. I explained to you guys, like, if you look at her shoulder, if you look at her fingers, you can see that her body is cut up on the album cover. So I felt like, and I presented on my crime channel, that this album cover for his withered album is a diagram. This is a diagram. It's an illustration of a crime scene. This beach setting, people in the comments, people on social media have identified this beach, but specifically the cutouts, the black and white cutouts are an illustration of a crime scene. And I feel like he was illustrating with this cutout of Celeste what he did to her body. Now, again, this is all alleged. This is all alleged, and in my opinion. When I shared this on my crime channel, another channel, a bigger channel, because it went viral on Reddit, and they presented it on their channel as like a silly idea. Like, you guys, I know this is kind of silly, but there's this creator that thinks that, you know, she's cut up on the album cover, and that David is showing us what he did to her on his withered album cover. And there were comments like, yeah, I see it, but there were also comments like, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. You have to suspend logic. The police said that early on in the investigation. They said you have to suspend logic when you look at this case. And when you look at the autopsy details and compare them to the diagram of her body, you see what I'm talking about. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be making a comparison to the autopsy details to how he illustrated her on his album cover, because it is the same. And this is the type of stuff, when they say they got 40 terabytes of digital evidence against David, this is the type of stuff I hope is in there, because it should be how her autopsy report looks like the withered album cover. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. And in the link in the description box, you'll see a link to my crime channel. Go ahead and subscribe there as well. That's where I get into more detailed information. Let's get to it. Let's start with the autopsy report. All right, so with the autopsy report, it is in 2 pages. We're going to start with this page, and we're just going to go head to toe. With her hair, it says her hair is long and black. You can see the arrow pointing to the top of her head, and it's a note saying her head was partially skeletonized, which I think, and a lot of other people have also commented on, that they believe David was waiting for her to become a skeleton because he wanted to keep her skeleton. Now, when it comes to her eyes, it says globe not present, which means the eyeball is not present. I believe this would be like the right side of her body, but the eyeball is not present. Now, when you compare that to this illustration on his album cover, you guys, the eyeball is scratched. The eyeball is scratched. I think he took her eyeball and I think he illustrated it on this album cover. I'm telling you guys, it's sick, it's demented, but I think it's true. All right, so on the other side, it says globe with extensive post-mortem changes. So basically, the other eyeball is disintegrated. Her mouth, her dental area seems to be indicating braces. It says intact hardware present, and I think the hardware must be braces. Now, as far as her wounds, and we're going to talk more about them later, but she has several puncture wounds. Where you see where it says 9/16 inch defect, that's a puncture wound. It looks like he was going after her heart. It's another one that says 5/18 defect, again going after her heart. Now, if you look at her arms, the straight lines, or the mostly straight lines, represent where he cut her arms. So you can see on the left side, it says 9 inch from the top of the shoulder. On the right side, it says 6 inches from the top of the shoulder. And let's go back to the album cover. When you look at the album cover, and this is what I was talking about in particular, you see her arm is cut on the album cover. Her arm is cut on the album cover. And when I posted my videos, a lot of you guys were saying in the comments, this shaded part on the right side of her body where her arm would be, a lot of you guys were saying, well, does that represent blood? Was that some type of trauma? Was that some type of injury? And allegedly, yes. You see the puncture wounds are on that side of her body. And again, it looks like he was illustrating what he did to her. Now, also on this page, you can see the back of her body, and it says multiple defects between 1 inch to 1 3/4 inches. So it seems like there may have been some type of situation where he began in the front, and then maybe her body, maybe she turned over and he continued in the back. And again, this is all allegedly. Now, I also want to talk about her hands while we're here. I don't know if these are defensive wounds where it says multiple linear abrasions. They said this happened, the lacerations were due to a sharp object. It sounds like they're hinting at a knife, but they don't have the weapon, so they can't say exactly what the object is, but it caused multiple linear abrasions, and it kind of makes sense if she was trying to defend herself that she would end up with abrasions on her hands. And now when it comes to her hands, what we also see noted is that 2 of her fingers are missing. 2 of her fingers are missing. You see where it says absent and then it's pointing to her fingers? Her fingers are missing. And then when you go back to the album cover, you can see on the one hand, you see where it looks like the whole hand is missing, but you see something is not drawn there. Like a hand is not clearly drawn there. You see that on the right side, and then on the left side you see 2 fingers in the air, and that side also looks like is implying that not all fingers are present, that some type of trauma was done to the hands and not all fingers are present. Now, allegedly, the fingers that are missing, one of them had a tattoo. One of them allegedly had a tattoo of the name David on the finger. So he possibly kept those 2 fingers as a trophy. So I feel like he kept her whole body as a trophy, but he may have kept them as a trophy. The same with her eyeball. I understand this is disgusting to even think about, but when we discuss this, these are the details, and it's very possible that he allegedly kept parts of her body, including her fingers and the eyeball, as a trophy. All right, and then when we look at her legs, we see multiple markings of where he disconnected her body from the torso. Like you can see the upper thigh, and it's mentioned the height of the laceration. It looks like she was cut right beneath her knees and right at her hips, right beneath her hips, and possibly it looks like there may have been some lacerations on her ankle area. Now, if we look at the other page of the autopsy report, you see more about the wounds that caused her demise. Like you see the depth of the wounds. And again, it looks like he was going for her heart. And then they also mentioned the other wound wounded her liver. Now, as far as like the toxicology report, it seems like they ran it twice, where one came back where she did have like benzos in her system and one came back inconclusive. So we're still not sure about that. But if one came back saying that she did have benzos or what have you in her system, I feel like he may have given them to her to kind of subdue her in the process of all of this. They also said there was alcohol found in her system, but it wasn't a contributing factor to her demise. So you guys, now we have answers. This is what people who have been following this case, this is what we've wanted for the past 8 months. We've wanted to know what happened to Celeste. And now we know from the medical examiner, we know exactly what happened to her body. Right now, David is a suspect. He hasn't been proven guilty, but we know what happened to her body. So leave a comment, share your thoughts on that, and share your thoughts on her autopsy report matching his album cover. It is hard to believe that someone would be that stupid to illustrate a crime scene and illustrate and create a diagram of what they did to the victim's body. That would be dumb. But in this case, there is no logic. But it seems to be what happened, in my opinion. Leave a comment and share yours. As always, thanks for watching.